Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch from Crime Talk, and thank you for tuning in today. We have a busy docket today. This is like coming back to the first day of school after the holidays. First, Heidi Broussard update, new details. The affidavit has been released. Second, the start of many long days for Harvey Weinstein. His trial starts in New York, and he's got trouble on the West Coast as well. Third on the docket, who are Harvey Weinstein's attorneys and what is their strategy? Fourth, graphic photos of Jeffrey Epstein shortly after his death and photos of his cell. 5, a toe-sucking dumb criminal of the day. And I want to tell you about my field trip that I went on. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that you are watching. First, if you have not already subscribed, please do so. Hit that little subscribe button. Hit that little bell so you receive notifications of when we put up new content or when we go live. If you like what we're talking about, hit the thumbs up on the video, and please leave a comment on all of the subjects that we talk about here today. First on the docket, Heidi Broussard, an update. For those who do not know, Heidi Broussard went missing on December 12th. Ultimately, she was found in a friend's vehicle, specifically her friend's vehicle trunk, and her daughter Margot was found safely. But new information has been released, and it is weird to say the least. Let's go through it. The main suspect, and obviously the person has a presumption of innocence, and that would remain with them until and if they either plead guilty or are found guilty in a court of law. But Magan Fieramusca, who is reportedly a, quote, close friend of Broussard, had been arrested in connection with the death of Heidi Broussard. And now appears as though Fieramusca had been plotting to take Broussard's child for some time. What we have learned is that the day after Broussard gave birth to Carrie, Fieramusca drove from Houston to South Austin to see them. Now, according to the affidavit, Broussard and her fiancé, Shane Carey, reported giving Fieramusca a key to their apartment on or about November 26th. And law enforcement sources had confirmed in December that Fieramusca was pretending to be pregnant at the same time as Broussard. And a nurse at the hospital reportedly overheard Fieramusca talking to Broussard at the hospital about being 37 weeks pregnant. This is all according to the affidavit. Fieramusca then allegedly interjected herself and asked to hold Margot Carey as Shane Carey's father was holding her. Shane Carey's father states that he was rather surprised by the actions of Fieramusca and that his first introduction and time with his grandchild was being interrupted so that the friend could hold the child. Fieramusca also told Shane Carey that she would leave the key that she had previously obtained in November at the apartment on the counter, but Shane Carey said neither he nor Heidi were ever able to find that key. And apparently, Fieramusca stayed at the Broussard and Shane Carey's apartment until November 27th, according to an affidavit. On December 8th and 9th, Shane Carey reported that he learned Fieramusca delivered a baby girl, but said he did not see any public pictures of the baby. A person who lives in the same apartment complex of Broussard states that there's a video camera outside the residence that captured a vehicle consistent with Fieramusca's car driving at that complex between 9 a.m. on December 12th, the same time that Broussard and Margot Carey went missing. Apparently, there is a witness that said on or about December 11th or 12th, she saw an adult white woman at the apartment complex carrying a small baby and walking towards a parked car. The witness reportedly told police she then saw another woman exit the car and greet the woman carrying the baby. The two women and baby then entered the car and drove away, according to the police affidavit. On December 19th, the witness was presented with a photographic lineup, and she told the police that she was 60 to 70% positive that the woman she saw in the front seat of the vehicle at the apartment complex was in fact Fieramusca. It also appears that Fieramusca was conducting internet searches that seem a little suspicious. The police obtained those internet searches and also found that she was looking for or searching reasons for Amber Alert, and Amber Alert issued Austin on December 12th. Additionally, between November 11th and December 18th, Fieramusca Googled Heidi Broussard 162 times. Now, on December 14th, police obtained a warrant and searched the residence of Fieramusca, where they found Broussard's body. Phone records helped create probable cause because what the phone records revealed was that Fieramusca, according to her phone, was that she was in Austin at or near the time Broussard and Shane Carey's apartment on December 12th. When the police started conducting surveillance of the home that Fieramusca was residing in Houston, they found the car parked in a way that appeared to be an attempt to hide it. According to the affidavit, when they showed him a picture of baby Margot Carey, the man thought that that is the same baby living in his house. "That's the baby in my house," quote, he told the police when they showed him the picture. Apparently, this gentleman explained to officials that he and Fieramusca had broken up in March and that he had never seen her bare stomach during her pregnancy. The man added that he noticed Fieramusca's stomach grew during the year and that he felt the stomach, which he described as hard. This man apparently believed that Fieramusca was in fact pregnant with a child. According to this gentleman, Fieramusca also said that on December 12th, she was going to the beach with a cousin. When Fieramusca saw the man she was living with on December 13th, she told him, "Don't be mad," the affidavit said. That's when Fieramusca reportedly told him that there was a baby on the bed. Fieramusca allegedly said that she went into labor and delivered their baby without the man's knowledge. She reportedly told a Texas Ranger that she went into labor on December 12th, but couldn't remember the name of the birthing center in which she reported giving birth. Fieramusca added that the only person present during her delivery was the employee at the birthing center. On December 19th, police searched the home where Fieramusca was living, and according to the affidavit, when they arrived, they reportedly smelled the unmistakable odor of decomposing flesh emitting from the trunk of a vehicle parked at the house. The body that was later discovered was that of Broussard. She apparently had been stuffed into a black duffel bag. The case of Heidi Broussard is definitely going to get even more interesting than it is already. It's obviously a tragedy that this has taken place. These type of cases seem to be happening more and more often, and I just don't understand how it can take place or why people think that they're going to get away with it. We'll watch this case. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Next on the docket, Harvey Weinstein. For those of you who do not know, Harvey Weinstein is the poster child for the hashtag #MeToo. He is now the disgraced former movie producer who has been accused publicly by some 80 women of using his position as a producer to have them perform sex or to have sex with him, obviously in a benefit to himself, and he was trying to help them. I think it's known in the world of producers as a casting couch. What's very interesting are the number of people that knew about Harvey Weinstein's conduct, allowed it to take place, and those that actually helped cover it up. Let's face it, Harvey Weinstein is not the most attractive man in the world, where all of these women are simply jumping at him to have sex because he is some specimen of a human being. No, he wanted them, and the question is at the trial is going to be, was this in fact consensual, or was it in fact a sexual assault against one's will with force? Now, the charges in New York come out of the reporting by the New York Times and the New York Magazine in 2017. And this newspaper report brought out a flood of allegations. Now, Harvey Weinstein faces a life sentence if he is convicted in New York. The charges revolve around different alleged incidents with two women. A former production assistant alleges that Mr. Weinstein forced oral sex on her in 2006 at his Manhattan apartment. A second unnamed accuser says the Hollywood producer sexually assaulted her at a Manhattan hotel in 2013. The accounts of a third woman the Sopranos actress Annabella Sciorra is expected to be used to bolster this predatory sexual assault count. Miss Sciorra claims that Mr. Weinstein raped her in her Manhattan apartment in the early 1990s. However, that incident is not charged. The judge has allowed testimony from 3 other women who say they were assaulted by Mr. Weinstein but are not part of the charges. That's what we've talked about in the past, is what is referred to as 404B evidence. Everyone has a right to be tried on the charges that they are charged with right now and not to bring in bad conduct evidence. But 404B evidence is evidence that is brought in to show a pattern, a modus operandi. It's alleged that these women were sexually assaulted in a hotel, and so the question then becomes, were there other incidents where this took place to show some sort of absence of mistake or a modus operandi, whereby this is just the way he operated, and it happened this way, it happened these other times, therefore you can believe it. It's going to get interesting, and we'll talk a little bit about the strategy that the defense is going to have to employ to get these jurors to believe that this was strictly consensual. Jury selection is going to start here shortly, and it's expected to take some 3 weeks to select a jury. I can tell you, as someone that has handled many sexual assault cases, that these type of charges take a long time to get a jury. And that is usually with a client that no one has ever heard of, and there's been no publicity whatsoever about it. So, as we mentioned before, just because jurors are aware of Harvey Weinstein and the allegations does not necessarily prevent them from participating in the jury. The question can be, for them to sit, is simply, can they keep an open mind, reserve judgment till they hear all the evidence in the case, follow the court's instructions, and follow the law? And obviously, if they can do that, they're going to be qualified. Now, a lot of people don't want to participate for 3 weeks on a jury. There's a saying, I remember a law school professor said, jury these days, 12 people good and true, otherwise unemployable. Because oftentimes in today's world, people just don't have the time. They don't get paid. They're not being compensated. So you get a lot of retired people. You get a lot of unemployed people sitting on the jury. It'll be very curious to see what the makeup is of this particular jury when it is ultimately seated. I can tell you, on a sexual assault trial, a lot of people do not want, or a lot of people think that they do not want females on a jury on a sexual assault case. Completely opposite of my experience. My experience is I will take those female jurors because usually they are more critical of females than a male juror would be. I think male jurors are very protective, whereas female juries are rather critical of other women. So we'll see how that shakes out. Next on the docket, let's talk about who is actually going to represent Harvey Weinstein. Well, there's an attorney from Chicago who's kind of the lead attorney, the lead trial attorney, and her name is Donna Rotunno. And for lack of a better term, Miss Rotunno has hit the jackpot. This is going to be a big case for her. She will either be famous forever for winning this case, or she will be forever known for the attorney that represented Harvey Weinstein and lost. Now, she came onto this case a year into the process, after Harvey Weinstein had lost 3 other attorneys. One of those attorneys that he actually had lost in the past was Jose Baez, who was the attorney for Casey Anthony, and got off the case basically for irreconcilable differences. Apparently, Mr. Weinstein is very demanding, doesn't really understand the law, and would rather treat this trial as a movie production more than a trial. He wants to introduce evidence that's not necessarily applicable at trial, and he gets very frustrated by that. And Jose Baez, his now former attorney, lead counsel, actually said that he felt as though he won the lottery the day he got off the case, and there were also apparently a financial dispute in there as well. Now, Jose Baez is a trial attorney. Donna Rotunno, from everything I've learned about her, says that she is a trial attorney. She tries cases. She tries lots of cases of this nature. She apparently is referred to as the anti-Gloria Allred. She doesn't deal with political correctness, And she basically is going to take the tact that these women wanted something from Harvey Weinstein just as much as Harvey Weinstein wanted something from them. Apparently, she's going to use the accuser's emails where afterwards, where days after, they're looking to get together. They want to talk. And so Ms. Rotuno's defense is really going to be is, what would a real victim of sexual assault do? Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that's what they have relayed is going to be the potential defense. You have to do it. You have to say this is consensual, unless you say it just completely didn't happen. And then you have to say, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if these ladies were really sexually assaulted, they would have gone to the police. They would have reported it immediately. They wouldn't have waited a decade or more to bring these allegations up. And oh, by the way, isn't there a lot of financial gain to be had as well? So those are all the things that the jury's going to have to sort through. And anybody who's ever done anything with victims of sexual assault know that each case is absolutely different. There's no one way to say, oh, if the person was really sexually assaulted, they went to the hospital immediately. There's so many emotions that go through that psychologically. They don't want to tell anybody. They're embarrassed, ashamed, so many things. So to say that they didn't come forward immediately does mean that it's not a valid claim, but it does make it a little more difficult for the prosecution. And obviously what the prosecution has in their favor is the fact that they have so many women saying the exact same thing, not only happened to them, but almost in the exact identical way. Now, the other attorneys on the team are a Damon Chironis, who apparently is like an office mate and went to law school with Donna Rotuno and is also from Chicago. Then we have Arthur Adelia, John Esposito, Diana Fabi Sampson, and Barry Kamens. Now, Barry Kamens is a retired judge, and he's apparently 75 and really down into the weeds. Donna Rotuno is the quarterback of this particular team, and she is the trial attorney. Most of these other witnesses are there for legal issues, researching, investigation, talking to witnesses, researching issues that come up. Now, he has 6 attorneys. Are they all going to be sitting there at counsel table? Not really sure. But in a case of this size, this magnitude, and this importance, you literally almost need a trial team that big. Issues do come up in trial, and as the lead attorney, you're not going to have time to go back and research legal issues that come up until the wee hours of the morning and still be on your game in the morning. So you need to have this legal team there to create issues, create appellate records, and keep things going. 6 attorneys. Prosecutors will probably have a couple people, plus they'll have their appellate division back at the office there to research any issues that may come up. Obviously, the prosecutor wants to keep a very clean record so there are no issues on appeal if Mr. Weinstein loses and goes to prison for life. Now, Mr. Weinstein also has other problems because today he was indicted in L.A. for literally the exact same thing that he's charged with in New York, but different victims. So we're definitely going to have to see how the trial goes in New York. We'll see if Miss Donna Rotuno does well enough for Harvey Weinstein to be able to go out to California and be his counsel there if things go well. My gut feeling is that if things don't go well in New York, this will be the last that we hear of Miss Rotuno. Next on the docket, graphic photos of Jeffrey Epstein's neck after his death. So for those who have been completely out of touch with most of the world, Jeffrey Epstein is a disgraced financier, powerful friend of many powerful people in both business and politics, who there's no doubt was engaged in a lot of underage sexual conduct with girls. And it would also appear that a lot of his associate friends were engaging in the same conduct on the old Lolita Express and his island down in the Bahamas, as well as his ranch down in New Mexico. Obviously, Mr. Epstein was being held in federal custody, and a lot of people doubt the theory that Mr. Epstein committed suicide, that in fact he must have been told that he was going to be suicided, and he was in fact killed. And the reason why there's so much doubt regarding the death investigation of Jeffrey Epstein is that it was a complete fiasco. The Bureau of Prison officers who should have been watching were not watching. The video that should have been monitoring the cells weren't being monitored. The paper sheets that Jeffrey Epstein was supposed to have weren't there, and he was given regular sheets. And to add further doubt to many, many people is the fact that renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Baden has said that he does not believe that it is in fact a suicide. In fact, Dr. Baden, so everybody's clear, was hired by Jeffrey Epstein's brother to investigate the incident to see what in fact was the true cause of death. Now you can see by these photos that we're putting up here that Mr. Epstein's neck has some very sharp bruising that has taken place, as well as some abrasions on his neck. As you can take a look at the photograph here of what is purported to be Jeffrey Epstein's neck, law enforcement alleges that Epstein tied a prison sheet around his neck before fastening the other end to a bedpost and kneeling forward, hanging himself. And the New York Medical Examiner ruled shortly after Epstein's death that the cause of death was suicide by hanging. Now, as we mentioned, forensic pathologist and former New York City Medical Examiner Dr. Michael Baden said, quote, that the images that you're looking at right now reaffirms his belief that the findings are more indicative of homicide than a suicide. It's also alleged by Dr. Baden that there's a lot of information that still hasn't been revealed yet that is essential in order to arrive at any conclusion, whether this was a suicide or a homicide. Baden, the pathologist hired by his brother, believes that the closing of this case and ruling it a suicide was premature. Baden references, in making his statement, the photograph of the ligature mark around Epstein's neck, saying it doesn't match the ligature that was found at the scene and that the medical examiner copied to show how he was hanged. Dr. Baden said it is too wide and too smooth. This is a rough injury that we see in the photograph. Additionally, there have been no photographs of the cell with Epstein in it when they found him deceased. This creates even more concern as to the investigation and how it was conducted. According to Dr. Baden, he says the most important thing is to find out is what was seen when the guards first went into the cell. Was he hanging? Was he on the ground? As some people reported when he was found, it's unclear. And that the removal of the body destroyed a lot of the forensic evidence, Dr. Baden persists in his conclusions. And to make things even more conspiracy theorist, which we are not trying to be, the FBI was actually probing Epstein's death to look into whether any sort of criminal enterprise may have played a role in this death investigation. Many people believe that simply this case was too high profile, that there had to either be a major malfunction of the system or that somehow some sort of criminal enterprise was afoot to allow this to happen. We will only have to wait and see. We may never find out, but it is certainly going to create lots of memes that Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. In fact, if you watched the Golden Globes Award last night, Ricky Gervais brought it up at Hollywood and said he didn't kill himself. And when everybody kind of, he says, oh, come on, we know he's your friend, but get over it. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Why are they not just presenting everything to the American people? Just get it out there. And you look at the photographs of the sheets in the cell, it just really doesn't seem to make sense from the photos that you see in the cell as to how he would have done what he did. But anything is possible. I simply don't know, and I'm awaiting more facts before I make any conclusions. But hey, release the information. What have we got to lose? Now moving down the docket, number 5, our dumb criminal contestant of the week. Now this dumb criminal contestant of the week is simply identified as an unknown intruder. He is apparently a black male, aged 20 to 25, bald, and maybe about 5'11 to 160 pounds. And apparently, allegedly, what this unknown intruder did was he goes into the residence of another man who is some 20 years old, and the male in the bed wakes up and finds someone sucking on his toes. And the police report that the victim was sleeping in his bedroom when the suspect somehow entered the locked residence on December 24th at about 3:30 a.m. with his toes were in the creepy stranger's mouth. The victim apparently asked the suspect what he was doing, assuming that he was about to be robbed. The victim declared that he did not have any money. In response, the suspect told him he was simply there to suck on toes. Apparently, a scuffle ensued. The scuffle made its way outside, where the intruder jumped on the vehicle of the victim and actually broke the windshield. And the victim went back in, called the police. The police arrived, and nothing was able to do to locate the suspect at the scene. However, the police have been able to swab the toes of the victim for DNA to see if they can find the suspect of the weird toe-sucking incident promptly. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you just can't make this stuff up. Reality is stranger than fiction, for sure. All right. So this weekend we took a quick field trip. I hope to be able to upload some of that footage yesterday, but was able to go to a historic prison. Yes, some may know it, but I'll try to upload those pictures hopefully by tomorrow for a field trip to Alcatraz. It was interesting, had never been there. Frankly, doesn't look like things have changed that much. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. I know we had a lot on the docket today, but we are back at work after the holiday season. Happy New Year to everyone. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave us a comment on what we were talked about today. Heidi Broussard, what do you think about it? Harvey Weinstein, do you think he's going down? Do you think his attorneys have got a shot? Let us know. What about the toe sucker? What do you think we should do to the toe sucker if he is caught and convicted? Let me know. Have a great day.